Hey guys, good to see you again. This time, a lot of people have been asking me, the last time I recorded videos, there was a lot of people who was asking me um, about the Kagero Legend deck that was released not too long ago. Um, since, people who are my regulars on here, they know that that's my favorite clan. And I had a lot of people asking me, how are you going to use the legend? What are you going to play him with? What cards are you going to use? What goes great with him? What goes, what shouldn't you do? Well, to be honest, guys, there really isn't a go-to answer on this, I don't think, and that's why when I told you guys I'd still be doing plenty of these deck profiles. This is just I don't know exactly how many I want to do because I have some people who've asked me about specific builds, but the only problem with that is I'm not so sure if I'm not so sure if you guys want to be flooded with nothing but Kagero deck profiles, because I can build Kagero decks all day long because they're my favorite clan to play. I'm a heavy control player for the people who know me very well, and so that doesn't really come as a surprise to any of you who know me. But I don't want to post a bunch of these videos if you guys don't want to see them. So if I get enough requests for a certain one, or if you want to see one, you can tell me. And if I don't make a video on it, I can at least send you a list of how I would do it, because I've been planning for this Legend deck for months, at least 5 to 6, when it was announced. And, I literally remember the day that I saw the announcement, and I was ecstatic. And I've been creating ideas in my head as long as I remember. It kind of was like, might be 2 to 3 of this, might be 2 to 3 of that, until we finally learned what the legend did. But ever since we got the full confirmed effect, my head was swirling with ideas, and I don't know if that is something that you guys want to see. If it's something you do want to see, I don't mind sharing that. You just need to tell me what you want to see. I will tell you a couple of other ideas that you could make. If I'm doing a certain deck profile, I'll tell you what you might change, and I'll talk about a couple other builds, because I have 2 deck profiles here for you, and then a surprise deck profile for something else, and 2 of them are Kagero decks, and I'm going to explain how how they're different, and try and do the best I can. But the way this always works is if you have a question, you can leave it in the comment section below, and I always answer them. I always answer every single comment in some way, or at least I try to. So anyway, let's just get right into this. So first off, this is not the main build that I've been messing around with. This is another version of it. First thing I will say, though, if for those of you who are looking to get into Vanguard, for those of you who are wanting to know, because I always have people that ask me if I'm trying to get my buddy or my friend or my cousin or my brother or somebody into the game, what should I get them for, like, a present? What should they get? The Kagero Legend deck is probably the best thing you can buy them, because for $30, I realize that might be a little more than they want to spend, but you get a complete deck, you get a deck box, and normally the trial decks cost you $20, the deck box costs you about $5 to $6, so essentially you're still spending the same amount of money, but you're also getting 4 of every card in the trial deck, so you're getting all the good cards. You're getting 4 legend, you're getting 4 you're getting your entire sets of triggers, you're getting 8 G-Zone cards, this is the first deck to do that, obviously, but so just for the money, the Kagero Legend deck is definitely worth it. Also, one change that they made, this is the deck box that you get. It comes with it flattened out, and you have to build it yourself. But if you notice, the deck box is now bigger, because ever since Bushiroad announced that the G-Zone goes from 8 to 16, it's hard to get that much cards in a single deck box, and this one you can. So that's really, really nice that they did that, because shows they're taking their players into account, which is always really good. Before I go into this deck profile, I will say I do know that the G Guardians don't officially drop until this weekend. But I went ahead and prepared a 16-card G-Zone for this, so there are technically 4 proxies in here, but the reason I'm doing these now, over the next 2 weeks, I'll be finishing up this quarter of school. I'll have finals and finishing up projects. I don't exactly know if I'll have time to do these, so that's why I'm doing them now. I mean, I'll still make videos if I can find the time, but I'm doing this more as a precaution. So, anyway, let's just jump straight into this. So, for the starter, obviously we got our brand new starter out of the Legend deck himself, Lizard Hero Undo. And if you are OG, as they say, old school Vanguard player, and you bought one of the first 2 trial decks, which is either Royal Paladin or Kagero, you remember the original starter in the Kagero trial deck was Lizard Runner Undu. So it's really nice to see that they gave him some love and made him really good. First off, love his new artwork, and his effect is absolutely insane. His ability is Forerunner, so he can move out anywhere on the board. His ability, Generation Break 1, Counterblast 1, put this unit into your soul, search your deck for up to 1 card with Overlord in its card name, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So anybody that knows anything about Overlord decks knows that you need your Overlords to kick your effects. So this guy lets you search out any Overlord you want. So if you're, I don't really need to explain why this is good. This is absolutely amazing. Because usually before this, we had to use Red Pulse Draco Kid, and I love Red Pulse to pieces because I've just been through so many games and deck builds with him. But Red Pulse is only a 4K unit, so usually on the first turn or 2, you didn't really hit good numbers. Undo is a 5K, so we're going to always hit the next magic number, which is always good. So Lizard Hero Undo is, if you're playing a Kagero deck and you are playing any Overlords in it, you definitely need to be using Undo. For the triggers, we play 4 Perdition Dragon, Buster Rain Dragon, and 4 Blu-ray Draco Kid. Now, this is the only complaint I have about the Legend deck, the Legend Trial deck, the Kagero Legend deck, whatever, is the triggers that they gave you. I hate all of them. I realize that you get one holo of each, but you get a Pig, you get Goku, which I'm not a fan of Goku. You get Gojo. The Gojo draw trigger I really like, so I guess I do like that one. And then you get Ganjo, the original heal trigger redone. But here's what's funny. The Legend lets you search out Flame Dragons. None of them are Flame Dragons. I mean, I think the heal trigger should have at least been a Flame Dragon, so that way you could have used it to pitch for a G-Guardian. But you have to play, you should be playing Flame Dragon triggers, which is kind of painful because it's hard not to see Tar up here. But you want to be able to add the shield to your hand if you need to. There's out of all the critical triggers we have, there's 4 or 5 Flame Dragons, so you can pick which one's your favorite. My favorite, personally, is Buster Rain, but for your other one, you just can kind of pick whatever you want, or whatever you have available to you. Next, for our draws, we're playing 4 Gatling Claw Dragons. This is definitely one of a must in any Kagero deck, because it lets us pick off pesky starters. If you're playing against Gear Chronicle, you can take away their Chronodran. If you're playing a mirror match, you can take out their Undo. There's so many starters out there that are just so pesky to deal with. I mean, Judge Bow is still seen, so you can take care of him. So you play Gatling Claw just to get rid of those pesky starters, and if they don't have a starter that you're really not that worried about, then you can just use them as shield, or Milius even, for Royal Paladin. So there are plenty out there. And then we play 4 Mother Orb Dragon for our heal triggers. There are 2 Flame Dragon heal triggers, according to my knowledge. That's Mother Orb Dragon and the Seal Dragon one. Shirtling, something like that. I like Mother Orb the best. It's just, I really like the artwork on it a lot. So, 8 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal. You can mix it up a little bit, like maybe play 7 crit, 5 draw if you want, but I prefer 8, 4, 4. That's just me, though. For grade 1s, obviously, we're playing our G Perfect Guards. For Protect Orb Dragon, Protect Orb Dragon is the unflipping Perfect Guard. Anybody who's played Kagero or played against Kagero knows that Kagero uses a lot of counterblasts because that's how we pay for our skills to pop things. So we need to be able to unflip that damage so we can reuse it. That's why we use these. The only downside, obviously, is you can't use them to protect your rear guards. So if you're really that scared of... I mean, I realize that D-Police... much to my teammate Christian's happiness, is about to get frickin' nerfed in June because of all the new support they're getting with X-Gallop and getting 4 drive checks, and Commander Laurel's going to be running around even more by people wanting to just splash him in every single Deep Police deck known to mankind. This deck is not too scared of Laurel. I mean, if you're really that scared of Laurel, you know, I mean, I don't really... This is just me. I'm just really not going to change how I play my deck for one card. I will admit, Laurel, you know, especially when X-Gallop comes out, your opponent getting 8 cards to their hand is definitely a pain, but I don't see that as a reason to not play my G-Perfects. I just feel much more consistent with them, so that's why I would still play them. For Lizard General Conroe. Conroe is back to us in the form of a really, really broke grade 1 that I love to pieces. In any Overlord deck, he should be at 3 minimum. So his ability is, when this unit is placed on rear guard from your hand, you may pay the cost, which is reveal a grade 3 from your hand. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 card with Overlord in its card name, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck, choose a card from your hand, and discard it. So it's basically a searcher for any Overlord you want. So that is awesome. And then his other skill, it's an act ability. You retire him and target your Vanguard with Overlord in it. And when he attacks, you can unflip 2 damage or countercharge 2 if you prefer the technical jargon, but so he serves 2 purposes. He's a searcher and he helps us unflip our damage. So you can't really go wrong with him. We also are playing 4 copies of Lava Flow Dragon. This is our Kagero Stride Enabler. This version is centered around a little more about Stride, so I decided to play 4 Stride Enabler. When he's called, you can reveal a grade 3, search Blademaster, and discard a card, and also when he's pitched, he serves as a grade 3. So yeah, there is a lot of search power in this deck, but both of these cards, they have multi-purposes. So, then for the last grade 1, 2 copies of my favorite, well, no longer my favorite grade 1 in Kagero, sorry Gojo, that's Conroe now, but the long-lasting staple of grade 1s in Kagero, Dragon Monk Gojo. Rest him, drop a card, draw a card. He's been around since the dawn of time, so he's just so good because he helps cycle out your hand, so... If you only want to play like maybe 3 Stride Enablers and play a 3rd Gojo, you can. I just want to have plenty of Stride, so that's why I play 4 of him. Grade 2s. 3 copies of Emperor Dragon Knight Nahalem. So, Emperor Dragon Knight Nahalem. This guy is... I'm so glad Nahalem is back to us as well. That's why I love the Legend deck, is it brought back so many of the classic Kagero cards. Mainly Nahalem and Conroe, because those 2 are definitely 2 of my favorites. So his ability is Generation Break 1. During your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Overlord in its card name, he gets plus 2,000 power. And he also gets the skill of... When your grade 4 or greater Vanguard attacks, this unit gets plus 5k until end of turn. So if you have an Overlord Vanguard, he's 11. If you have any other kind of Vanguard, he can still get to 14. I don't play all Overlords in the grade 3s, so I only play 3 of him in this build. So that's why I'm only playing 3, if you're wondering. You'll see more here in a second when we get to grade 3. But for the rest of the next grade 2 is I play 3 copies of Perdition Dragon Dragonic Neoflame. Dragonic Neoflame is probably one of the best cards that we have as far as control. His ability is when this unit is placed on the rear guard until the end of turn, this unit gains the skill of when your opponent's rear guard in the same column as this unit is put into the drop zone, you may counterblast 1. If you do, choose one of your opponent's rear guards in the same column as that unit and retire it. So you can clear out entire rows with just him, so you can really hurt someone's formation very quickly. Neoflame is just a good solid threat, and he's not generation break restricted. So that's good to have, because I want to have at least a grade 2 that I can abuse before I stride. So next we're playing 3 copies of Berserk Lord Dragon. Like I told you, this build is more heavily focused on stride and retiring as a whole. It is, I guess you could call it mass control if you wanted to name it something. But Berserk Lord Dragon skill, Generation Break 1. When your grade 4 or greater Vanguard attacks, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to one of your opponent's grade 2 or less regards and retire it. Really, really good solid card, honestly. This card kind of gets overlooked because, you know, Kagero just has so many great grade 2 units at its disposal. So it's really good, you know, because you can pretty much clear your opponent's board very quickly, especially with our stride units and things like that. And he says grade 4 or greater, so that tells me that eventually we'll have grade 5s in the game, or they're at least leaving that possibility open. So that's something fun to think about. And then for the last 2 grade 2s, we're going a little old school. We're playing 2 copies of Bellicosity Dragon. This card is just a he has a skill of if he's on the Vanguard circle or the Rearguard circle, if his attack hits the opposing Vanguard, you get to unflip 1 damage. So it's just there to give you maybe a little more damage control conservation. So, I mean, you don't have to play these. This was just a weird tech choice on my part. You can take them out and run another Nahalem or another Berserk Lord or one of each. I just wanted to give myself plenty of options. The reason I don't, like I said, the reason I don't play 4 of these is because I don't play all Overlords in the deck. And I don't want to play too many of these because you have other options to retire cards. I mean, so you can try other things, you know, but this is just, I decided since this build is a lot more counterblast heavy than my other one, because this one, that's what this deck's main focus on. I mean, it's just, I'm just going to nuke your board as fast as I possibly can. So I guess that's all Kageros in general, but that's what this, I was kind of going for a more, I guess, budget-friendly on this. So, I mean, if you, because this build, if you notice so far, there's really not a whole lot of expensive cards in here. I mean, Neoflame is, I really don't know how much Neoflame's going for right now. Bellicosity is nothing. The G-Perfects, if you don't have G-Perfects, you can just substitute these for the ones you got in the Legend deck. Kagero Stride Enablers are a little bit of money right now. They're like $3 to $4 a piece, I think, or they might actually be more. I don't know. You know, but I tried to do a little more budget-friendly version because you guys do some of you do like budget-friendly decks, so that's what I tried to do. But there are other ways you can do it. If you guys want to see like even more extreme budget, I can do that. You just need to let me know if that's something you want to see, and maybe I can make something work. Okay, grade 3s. For the first 3 grade 3s, we're bringing out our new Overlord. 3 copies of Dragonic Overlord, the Legend. So, We got our new Overlord, and he looks absolutely freaking awesome. His ability is Generation Break 2, Counterblast 1, choose a grade 3 or greater Flame Dragon from your hand and discard it. Until the end of the turn, this unit gets plus 15,000 power, grade +1, drive +1, and once per turn, at the end of the battle that this unit attacked a rearguard, you may discard 3 cards from your hand. If you do, stand this unit. So if you can't stride, or you just don't want to stride, you can use his Generation Break, and it essentially gives you a stride, because he becomes 26 by himself, he becomes a grade 4, and he gets triple drive. So it kind of corrects that, so it gives you an option there. And also, it's his second skill that's really, really good. When this unit is placed on the Vanguard Circle, you may Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. If you do, look at the top 5 cards. Look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, search for up to 1 Flame Dragon among them, reveal it to your opponent, and put it into your hand. So you can add a heal trigger to use a G Guardian, you can add a Perfect Guard, you can add a Stride Enabler, you can add a Neo Flame. There is a lot of Flame Dragons in here, so you have options. And also, all your grade 3s are Flame Dragons as well. For your other grade for other grade 3s, we play 3 copies of Dragonic Blademaster. Dragonic Blademaster is I actually have grown rather fond of this card because when set 1 came out and everyone was going crazy about the cross, and I include myself in that group. I'm not excluding myself because I was really excited about the cross. People were opening packs of this guy and going, oh, Blademaster's garbage, I'm going to throw him in the trash, literally, because he is not the cross. I stockpiled these cards when he was like only $1 or $2, because I knew eventually someday he would get some respect, and that's why when I built my original Blademaster control deck, and posted it up here for you guys, and played it. This was before I was working at my locals. I won 3 straight weeks with that deck. It was so consistent because it wiped boards, and your opponent never got to keep a field. I love Blademaster. So, his abilities are Generation Break 2. During your turn, if the number of rearguards that you have is more than your opponent, this unit gets plus 5k and 1 crit. So that's a real easy skill to get off, especially for Kagero. And then his other skill is whenever you stride on him, you may Counterblast 1. If you do, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and destroy it. So short and sweet and simple. You stride on him, Counterblast 1, kill something. So we all like killing things. And for the last grade 3 is we're playing 2 copies of Perdition, Emperor Dragon, Dragonic Overlord, the Great. So technically we're only playing 5 Overlords in this deck, so that's why, like I said, I'm only playing 3 of this. The Great is just great. He's just good at what he does. He gives us triggers back. He is a restander, gets rid of rearguards. I mean, he's just a good solid option. So obviously he's Legion, Legion with Neoflame, and then let's see. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked a rearguard, if he's in Legion, you may Counterblast 1 and discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, stand all of your Vanguards, and you cannot use the ability for the rest of the turn. So attack a rearguard, stand up, attack the Vanguard. So you get 4 drive checks, which is always nice. Then his other skill, when this unit's attack hits, you may sacrifice 1 unit that has the same name as the unit on your Vanguard circle. And if you do, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. You won't use that skill a whole lot. In fact, I've only gotten it off a couple times, mainly just because you're going to mass retire with other effects, so you won't have to sack anything to retire anything. So, but this... for its lineup, does very well because Blademaster does really well in the Royal Paladin matchup, and Royal Paladin right now is something that's all over the place because of Sanctuary Blaster, and he can pop multiple things, so that's why I put Blademaster in here. Now, for our G-Zone, now I'm going to be showing you all 16 here, remember, so there is 4 proxies for the G-Guardians and everything else. So for the first we're playing is Divine Dragon Knight Mustafa. Mustafa is a good first stride. His ability is Counterblast 1. Choose a face-down card from your G zone and turn it face up. And if you do, you can choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. And then if his attack successfully... and then you choose one unit face up on your field for every copy of Mustafa that's face up. And if their attack hits, you can countercharge one. You won't have to worry about that because in my build I only play one. It's because I also use one copy of Supreme Heavenly Emperor Dragon Vortex Desire. So for your first stride, you have two options. You can either go to him for a for sure kill, or him if you know your opponent is not holding a perfect guard, or if they don't have a lot of cards in their hand. Vortex Desire, his ability is when this unit attacks a Vanguard, turn one face-down card in your G-Zone face up. If you do, until the end of that battle, this unit gains a skill. And it's the ability of when this unit's attack hits, for each Flame Dragon on your Vanguard circle, choose up to one of your opponent's grade 2 or less rear guards and retire it. So if you stride and hit over, if you're just like this, you get to retire 2 units. Because your heart also counts, and if you're in Legion, you get to retire 3, but I haven't pulled that off yet because generally you're only going to pop 2. But if you're in Legion and you stride into him and you hit, you can kill 3 units for just a flip and a hit. That's really not that bad. Next, we're playing 2 copies of Supreme Heavenly Emperor Dragon Dragonic Overlord the Ace. Since we're not playing all Overlords, I'm only playing 2 Ace. So the Ace's skill is Counterblast 2, choose a face-down copy of the Ace and turn it face up. And then for the rest of the turn, he gets -1 drive check. But in exchange, at the end of the battle that this unit attacked, you can choose a card from your hand and discard it, and choose a card with Overlord in choose a card with Overlord in its card name and discard it. So you're discarding 2 cards. One that has Overlord in its name, and the other one it can be anything else. And then at the end of the battle, you can stand this unit, and it gets plus 5,000 power until the end of turn. So you lose 1 drive check, but you get 2 attacks at your opponent. So it is really good, especially if they have a small hand and they're really, really high damage, like 4 or 5. Next, we're playing 4 copies of our new stride, Transcendence Divine Dragon Nouvelle Vague Express. So, Nouvelle Express, I hate that name. Makes him sound like a fucking train. So, his ability is Generation Break 2, Act ability, Counterblast 1, and choose a face-down card named Transcendence Divine Dragon Nouvelle Express. And until the end of the turn, this unit gets the skill of, during the battle that this unit attacks a Vanguard, your opponent cannot call grade 1s from their hand to the Guardian Circle, and during your turn, if the number of cards in your opponent's damage zone is 5 or more, all of your opponent's triggers are nullified. So, if excuse me. If they're at 5 damage and this hits them, even if they pull a heal trigger, it will not save them. So, there's that. And it prevents perfect guards, so it forces them to have to do other things. Use G-Guardians, try to manually guard it, or just take it. So, and then we're playing 4 copies of Flame Emperor Dragon King Root Flare Dragon, just because it's a cheap, no counterblast, just a single face-up flip of another Root Flare to destroy a whole column, so 2 units. So, that's that. Now, for the 4 proxies, this is this Mahmoud here is Seabreeze. Seabreeze is the Cray Elemental, where if your opponent does not ride, you counterblast 2 during your main phase, and you can stride. So that's I only play 1 of those. this one copy of the Kagero Perfect from the G Legend deck is the G Perfect, the G Guardian that has Resist. And then these two Kagero Clan cards are just basic Kagero G Guardians. And his effect is, when you call him to the Guardian Circle, if your opponent has 4 or less rear guards, he gains plus 5k, making him a 20k guard. So as long as they don't have a full field, he has 20,000 power. So that is the G deck. So anyway, that is my first version of the Legend that I'm showing you guys. This is Legend Blademaster, I guess, if you wanted to give it a name. That's probably what it'll be called in the title. Legend Blademaster, this just is a heavy... This version is focused on heavy retiring. So, it is very consistent in the testing that I've done with it, and I really, really, really enjoy it. So I hope you guys enjoy it too. So in the comment section below, feel free to tell me what your thoughts are. Tell me what you think. Always want to hear what you guys have to say. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. So make sure you leave some thoughts down in the comment section for me. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you already haven't done that, and I will see you next time.